Hello, hello, welcome along. I am going to be working on this today. So we have this Xcode classroom component. You can see it supports light mode and dark mode. Maybe I'll just do a full screen. It supports light mode and dark mode, and as you resize it, it resizes just like Xcode. And what we're trying to match is Xcode window right here. And so the thing I've been working on recently is that when you resize it down real small, you'll see that these labels, the labels get smaller, the icons remain the same size, the labels shrink, and yeah, I've got that working in HTML. This stretch goal of when you hover over it and make it expand, it's something I probably wouldn't want to do that bit on stream. I'd rather have a bash at that on my own. But I think for today, I'll be tackling everything down here that we're missing. See how it goes. But first, the heat is a bit high, so let's drop the aircon a bit. There we go. Okay. So let's get going. Do tell me if the text size is just too small to deal with. Probably increase that. So where should we begin? We've got this compendium component. We've got left and right arrows. You can see we've got hover effects. And what we're missing is actually no. We've got this whole bar finished at this point. So we might be able to argue about how much padding it needs or whatever, but it's a pretty good start. So maybe we should move on to the next row altogether. So we've got the title bar, which is used over here. We've got a tab bar. So I think I'm calling this thing the tab bar. And so we need this next thing below here that says Power Novel, and then it has left and right buttons. I don't know what you even call that. What is the general purpose of it? So this is the Xcode project selector, I suppose we'd call that, because you, it lets you browse through the multiple projects in your XC workspace. So that probably, maybe, even then, if you had a single project workspace, let's just give it the name project selector so that I'm not spending forever just thinking up a name. So we'll go with project selection bar.tsx export function. Selection bar. And let's get a bit more space for ourselves. So I'm using a program called Rectangle that lets me resize and reposition windows. We'll have this on the right. And what exactly, where are we? So we'll do a bar similarly to how we did our tab bar. How do we start that off? Let's just grab all of that. Could make it a reusable component, but I'm not thinking too deeply for now. Div it up. And so now we've got, hello. Is this not hot reloading? What's going on? Oh yeah, sorry, we haven't even put it in yet. So, get rid of custom CSS. We go into our window and we're going to reference that. Import it, save it up, get the linter to auto fix the positioning of the imports, and then now we have a bar that just says hello. And we're going to reuse some common parts here. We've got that thing that says compendium, so we'll see how I did that in the tab bar. It's interesting, this appears like 3 times, so there's a bit of a temptation to make this as a reusable component. However, in each different context, it behaves a little differently. So this has got hover state, that has not. This has got sort of tab level hover state. So, and then it comes along with an icon, and so the question is, do you really want to invest in the concept of an icon being right next to a label? Does that feel so reusable that you care to make it as a wrapped component, or do you just say, hey, icons and labels, you can just copy paste them each time you need them? So for now, I think just let's go along with an icon and label, and we'll be fine. So which one was, so tab bar should be this thing here. So where is my compendium hiding? We've got this tab, which is made of an icon and a span. So we could just cheekily add all missing imports. It couldn't find slab serif. Let's get that up in there. Get rid of that comment. So now we have something which says compendium, and we need to match the font size. Now, I have only my eyeballs. The accessibility inspector will tell you a few things, but not the font size. So where could I put that? I'll store that off screen for now. So I can only guess at the actual font size of this thing, but it's clearly smaller than median. No, that's the weight. So did I have a text size? No, I didn't. And then what's the size of this icon? Does that look about the same? Let us check. Bring our Xcode over, and I use the screenshot tool to do a crude size check. It's give or take 15 pixels, who knows, versus the thing we had. Sorry, we're trying to measure this one. So that's give or take 14, 15 pixels versus this one over here, which is 15-ish pixels. So maybe the icon's about the same size, but the text possibly needs to get smaller. We could set, because text cascades, we could set a text small up here, for example. Let's just get the, where's my window on? It's going to be a Firefox window. We could set a text small up there, or we could scope it. Let's see, reference screenshot. I've got very little space to play with. This is kind of annoying. Kind of need it like that. And I guess, should we have that on the left? Okay. So, do we make the whole bar be composed of the same size texts? There's not really any precedent for it. There's only one textual component here, so let's put the text small in with that. So that's not really had much of an effect. Can we do it extra small? That's more like it. That looks, to my eyes, that thing there looks kind of like that. Welcome along. We've got 3 viewers now. So we've got our compendium from there. I don't actually have an Xcode logo on the file. I think in terms of like copyright, I'm not sure it's safe for me to bundle the Xcode icon. So actually I'm using a bunch of material icons for all of these things. I can maybe, yeah, if someone can convince me it's okay to bundle the Xcode logo, I will actually use the real thing. But until then, okay. So clearly the space between this text and this icon is a bit too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to div it up. And that can be, well, I mean, we could subtract some margin here, but the spacing is coming from this flex gap. It's a fairly reasonable flex gap where the precedent was set by that previous bar. So let's make a new div. Oh, hang on. And the class name is going to be, it's going to be flex again, and we're going to do gap x a bit less. Let's try x1, and that seems to match up. Okay, so we've got that covered, and when you hover over it, what happens? It does that. So what I'm going to do, bring you down as a reference, and in fact we could use this. as a reference. Go into light mode. When you hover over any part of it, even the padded area, we need to go a certain kind of grey, and I've worked out these greys before, so let's look at one I've done earlier. For example, this, that would do the trick. Yeah, let's check out. Although, is it going to be the same grey? Hard to tell, because I did this as an opaque colour rather than as a transparency overlay. So I'm going to bring out the colour picker and just double check this. Alright, I've got the colour picker up. When you hover this, it's E5, E5, E4, whereas when you hover this, it's slightly different. So there may be an aspect of transparency here that it's going to be impossible for me to guess, so we're just going to have to do this unique. So when you hover over either the icon or the text, so actually the group of all of them, we're going to say when we hover it, we set the background to some unique colour. Let's say, for example, can we get a cyan? Yes, that's valid. Okay, so that would look like that. Let's give it a bit of padding. Padding 1. How does that look? Is that possibly too much? Maybe too much. Padding 0.5. Okay. I think it's got a bit more X than it has Y. Okay, so padding X, padding Y can be like that, and then padding X can be more like 1. That's not very padded. Ah, sorry, yeah. That's how you write it. Excellent. We need some rounding on that, clearly. So we're going to start off with rounded, fully rounded. How would that look? That's not bad. Yeah. I swear I was using like rounded SM before. Have I not got rounding in the tab bar anywhere in the tab bar? How about the title bar? Rounded, round full. Oh, that's how you say it. It's a rounded dash full. No, that's too much. So maybe, yeah, just good old rounded. So that kind of looks a bit like a rounded square. I think we maybe need a bit more radius. Rounded SM, is that more or less? That's maybe too much. Well, if we're not sure, then let's do the one that has the least opinionation, the opinion on it. It's least opinionated. Okie dokie, let's put some colour in that. So the actual text colour remains black, so let's I think I have some CSS for these colours. So we have, for example, Xcode title bar value. This is all in light mode. Outer button value. I need to match one of our existing colours. I'm just not sure which one. Because because I've only implemented everything. It looks kind of like that build succeeded text. So let's see how I did that. Some tab bar, no, some title bar. Succeeded. That was done with inheriting. Apparently just that. Okay, so until this becomes reusable, we're just going to hard code it. Because I'm not really sure what the theme of this is. Where was that? Project selection bar. Let's just start us off like this. Like that. Okay, and then when you hover it, it can be yes, this is going to be a unique value. So hover is going to be background. In light mode, it's going to be F2, F2, F2. F2, F2, F2. How's that? Yeah, that was good. Okie dokie. And in dark mode, how does that change? So that's clearly no good. Switch my whole operating system over to dark mode. And then that's going to be more like this color, which is 2A 2929. Hover, so dark is going to be 2A, what was it, 2929? It's barely changing. And then this is... Okay, I've matched the colours. I don't know why the contrast feels so much lower. One F, one E, one D. Oh, it's this. Okay. Yeah, so it's very hard to pick colours on Xcode because I swear it either changes at different times of day or based on how high up on the screen it is. It's absolutely infuriating. So if you pick up here, it's all 28s. But if you pick down there, it's yeah. The color changes based on how high the Xcode window is on the screen. So I am screwed. Why? Why would they do that? That's so strange though, because when you stretch this out, it doesn't change as you go. Good lord. It doesn't change as you go from here to here, but if you compare this 201F1C to this, yeah, it changes. Ugh, this is why all my colors are wrong. Okay, so for consistency, we need to find where it was 24, 24, 23. That's kind of close. So in this situation, what was it? Okay, I should change the hover color to 303131. And maybe I'll get a bit more. Yes, okay, that contrast looks a little better. Okay, so we have this, and we're going to need a. We're going to need a up-down arrows, which we shall get from material symbols. Now, what would you call that? Drop down. Nope. It's failing. If we can't find anything else, we're going to go with arrow drop down. So, oh, what's the name? Come on, give me the name. And this is part of material symbols. symbols rather than icons. Okay, can we pick something better? Arrows. Yes, unfold more. That is what we want. Let's grab that. This is symbols. Grab one of these. It's going to be unfold more. Do we want it outlined? I don't know. Do we want it sharp, outlined, or rounded? Let's start with unfold more. Shove that in there. Oh hey! It's something. So it only appears on hover, but that's fine, we can make that happen. The gap is too wide, so that flex gap of 1 in general needs to be lower. So maybe what we do is we add a margin after margin left 0.5, and then we bring this gap down to 0.5, and the maths should work out. Yeah. How do we want to do this? I did it wrong way around. So it's a gap. Ah, yeah, okay. Right. So we need to decrease that gap there. So when they've got different gaps between them, it's annoying because you ideally want like a singular flex gap that handles all the cases. But if we get our little picker out here, that's about 5 pixels in between them, whereas over here, oh no, we could probably use the same flex gap. So, gap as it was, and maybe this icon is simply too big, so let's just see what we're dealing with. BG cyan for a moment. Okay, that is a problem. It's got far more padding, and it's too large. So what if we bring this down to size 3? That's probably more like it. And then we can do an items center. Bring our real Xcode up. And it does rather feel like this icon, we need to subtract margin from this icon, to be honest. So I think subtract a bit from each side, take off the background. How does that look? Yeah, it's not bad. It's pretty close. It's pretty dang close. Almost feel like the size needs to be... Actually, the size is fairly convincing. Yeah. Given material, the actual metrics, given the actual design of the material icon is subtly different to the Apple official thing, that might still be the right icon size. But let's just see what would happen if we put it on something like size 3.5. Not convinced 3.5 is an improvement. Yeah. Okay. It will have to do, won't it? Okay, so the text can be current color probably. If I go back off dark mode, what color does it take? Is it kind of the same as the text? Hard to say. Oh, but because we don't have a full pixel, so 3Bs is kind of... It's potentially different to the text. but hard to say. We could just make things easier on ourselves and just inherit what the text is doing. That's not too bad, is it? Go back to dark mode. If anything, we need to go in the... that's the thing, that's the thing. If we share this across both of them, that might look a bit better. Yeah. It does. Oh yeah, that's quite alright, isn't it? Okay. So we just need to make it disappear on hover. So when it's hovered, it will be, hold up. When it's hovered, it's going to be display whatever its normal display is. So initial. Hang on. We could either do display initial, or we could just give it a, we could either set it inline or block. I'd like to know what it normally is, but display initial, does that work? Okay. And then, no, we need a group hover, so when that thing gets hovered, when the group up here gets hovered, this is going to go back to whatever display it was, but until then, actually no, we want to trigger visibility rather than display. So visibility, how do you say visibility hidden in Tailwind? What was it called? Invisible? Yeah, that's visibility hidden. And then on group hover, that means we can just do visibility visible. Okay, okay. So yes, see that? Now we are hovering over it, and the up and down arrows appear only when hovered, so that's delightful. And we can deal with the mouse. So right now this is becoming a text cursor, but we should have a cursor pointer. Not pointer, cursor auto? Don't know what they call it. Default. That's more like it. Hey! Oh, that's so good. We could make that non-selectable. How do you normally do that? I think I'm mixing this up with React Native. With React Native, you do read only. Yeah, that's no good. Or selectable. Yeah, so that's a React Native thing. We can do pointer events none, but that's a bit heavy-handed. Is there some kind of select? None. That'll do it. Oh yes. Power of CSS. Who needs JavaScript? Okay. So that's looking pretty sweet. Now, I'm not going to bother with this pop-out menu. Not on stream. I'm going to have to pick some libraries for that. But yeah, that means we can now work on these back and forward arrows, which we've actually done before. But first, we make a commit. So, let's do it like this. Yep. Start project selection bar. Push. Hide. Alrighty. So we've got that. and we are trying to do these next two buttons. No, these two buttons, which they are the arrows which we had over here. So we need to go up to that other bar, the whatever I call that thing, tab bar. They're chevrons. I think. Arrow back and arrow forward. So let's grab those. Shove it in here. So they'll appear like over here initially. If we remember to do our imports. Tab bar. Back and forwards. So yeah, we've got them already. We need to bring them out. There. That's really nice. And then we just need to bring over the alert, so that, I remember I made that in the title bar. So we had a warning, which we can shove in here. Where do we use warning? Warnings count. We don't need a counter warnings. How do I jump to that? We just need this circle. Shove that in between. So we got that now. I did have some scaling applied to it. I don't know if that's going to be relevant in this context. We can probably just ask for more size, something like a size 4. Yeah, that'll do it. When you hover it, does it interact? It does not. That makes things easier. Okay, so there's a bit too much gap between all of these. We'll give them their own div. That div can be a flex with a gap x1 for now. No, that's too much. Maybe no gap is best. Item center. Do we even need an item center? Are they all the same size? They're all size 4. So we don't actually need that. But who knows, maybe things will change. Hello Manjit Yadav, how's it going? Are you a fellow React warrior or a fellow Tailwind warrior? Let's see. We want them to be kind of a bit closer to each other. So who's got the most padding? How am I? I am excellent. Having a lovely day off and getting to use web platform. Like I've been doing a lot of React Native lately, but it's really nice to just use a bit of React DOM and try out Tailwind for web platform. Is just so productive to work in. Let's see, I think we want to take some margin off, let's say left and right of each place. Icon button minus mx1 on each side. Yeah. And then we'll do that for both of them. Where am I from? I am from the UK, but based in Japan. How about you? Let's see. Does that need to be higher? It's kind of alright, isn't it? So now we'll finish up with a bit of a div, class name, flex grow. No, just grow. There we go. Bish bash bosh. So the thickness of these lines is not the same as Xcode, but it'll do. Woohoo! Got a whole bar there. Learning. So Manjit is learning Next.js with Tailwind and Shad CN. Yeah. Currently in Canada, originally from India. Nice. Nice. So, what's your experience of ShadCN? Because I've used Radix and I've just started using React Aria, but I've not tried out ShadCN. I've seen it's got a lot of GitHub stars and people have good things to say about it. Okay, got this. Do need a bit more padding. Padding on the right of 1 to make up for what we took away from there. Add a bit. Yeah. Daniel Dennis. Hey, oh, hang on, I need to. So Manjeet saying ShadCN, pretty amazing. You should try it. Probably should. So, what I'm particularly interested in is headless UI components, so that you get all the behavior of the accessibility tree and that sort of thing, but you can bring your own Tailwind styles without fighting the original styles of the components themselves. And as far as I know, ShadCN is not headless, so you'd need. The reason headless matters to me is I'm often working with a designer who comes up with their own visions rather than starting from something like ShadCN. So having a headless library allows you to be flexible and implement the designs that are passed to you. So Daniel's saying, it's been a long time, did you give up on CocoaPods using TypeScript? Yes. I really gave it a good try. CocoaPods, the issue with it was it used not just a little bit, but a lot of Ruby metaprogramming. So you had to really look across not just the current repo, but several other repos to figure out everything that gets merged into a class. Like the equivalent of in Objective-C would be swizzling, the equivalent in JavaScript would be, it's just so long since I even heard the name, it's out of fashion, but like prototype merging or whatever they call it. It was so hard to track down what the rules of everything are, what the real shape of all these CocoaPods classes should be. So I got a bit better at Ruby, but I saw it was a thankless, long haul job. I think we got a bit further, but I think it would be. I began to realize, rather than converting this Ruby to equivalent TypeScript, I'd rather be building from scratch idiomatic, pleasant to use TypeScript rather than just inheriting all the same architectural choices that the original CocoaPods made. And a few people got involved, a few people got excited for it, but it's just a massive task. It's a massive task, and unless big tech really assure you and that they're definitely going to use it, it's like, well, is anyone going to use my library? And how much do I need to convert before we can even check whether it works? So it was, yeah, I just got burnt out, in a word, really. How does Ruby metaprogramming work? Oh, hang on, I've skipped. So Manji is saying, are you working professional or freelancer? I am a working professional, but I have, so today is a day off. I've got a 4-day work week, and so on my Wednesdays I'm free to do fun stuff like this. So this is completely spare time, fun stuff, and I'm making this thing. This is open source as well, and I'm going to make this thing here for a documentation website. Again, open docs. But yeah, not a freelancer, full-time professional. Ruby metaprogramming. So the way Ruby metaprogramming works is you can. It's like you just start making a class in one file, and maybe there's some abstract methods, maybe there aren't, but from any other file you can add extra stuff into that class. And that's a problem. You have to look across like several different files, across several different repos, is the way CocoaPods did it, to actually work out what is the allowed shape and contract of this class. And it was just such a pain tracking all this down. I think Ruby is too flexible. It's very helpful if it's very plastic, which is good if you're like a sole developer, you know exactly what you're doing. But if you're a newcomer into that code base, it's very intimidating because you don't know end to end how anything behaves. Manjeet saying, I'm into web dev, currently a student in Canada looking for freelancing and web development, so you have any? I don't think we're hiring for web dev. I think we're hiring for like AI and stuff. But yeah, if you're a student in Canada, I imagine, are you aiming for like permanent residency in Canada though? You probably want to be aiming for jobs in Canada rather than Japan. If you've had software development experience back in India, looking for new opportunities, I think for myself, I found it always helps to be visible in the open source space. Yeah. Build things that you want to use yourself, show them off on Twitter, show them off on Blue Sky, and you will get noticed. It's a long path, and you really got to grind. I'm not saying it's good for your health, but it is a way to get noticed. And particularly if you piggyback on highly used things, like in your case Next.js and ShadCN, really good ideas, you can definitely get more visible. But I do understand as an expat myself, yeah, it is potentially hard finding a visa sponsor, and the road towards PR is not necessarily easy, so I do have full sympathy. Random question from Daniel. Aren't you working in the companies that build frameworks like Xcode, Versal? No, I'm working for a consultancy in Japan. We happen to be doing a cross-platform project right now, so I chose React Native and Expo as the tech stack. So I got to play around and contribute some stuff back to the ecosystem. So things like adding macOS or Windows support to some libraries. But no, I don't work. I'm not a React Native core team member or Expo core team member or anything like that. I just like the technology. Yeah, so Manjeet saying, thing is, I didn't know about open source and even how I can contribute to open source. That's the thing. So in my case, like, check my repositories. Like, I've got hundreds of repositories of just personal experiments. Like, open source can be just work that you do for your own interest. That's out in the open. You don't have to contribute back to like a big famous repo. You can, if what you do like resonates with people, they may end up seeing it. But you know, if you look at the star counts for my repos, I'm not necessarily a formula for success. Yes. As for you know, why aren't I working for Expo and React Native or whatever? You know, there's more to a job than just the technology stack. Technology is exciting, but my life goal for the longest time has been to live and work in Japan. So I was looking for opportunities in Japan that would sponsor a visa. Let's see. So I've got that bar done. Serious question incoming from Daniel while I work out what the next bar down is going to be called. So this is the Xcode Proj Navigator bar, maybe. Xcode Proj. Well, for lack of a better name, and you know what? Let's just amend the previous commit and then call that implement project selection bar, and we'll do a force push. Work on the next thing. So we're going to need another bar, and instead of project selection bar, it is going to be Xcode Proj navigation bar t6. Xcode Proj navigation bar, okie dokie, which for now returns null. I'll get back to the chat in a second, just setting this up. Import that, go up, yeah, it's sorted, good. Did it? Serious question now, what do you think can be improved in the way we distribute apps in both Android and iOS? When you say distribute, I wonder what the intention of your question is there. So are you interested in like the distribution channels, or the shape of the distribution? Are we talking things like third-party app stores, or are you talking about the way we build apps, or what frameworks we use to develop mobile apps? So I'll get back to you, Daniel, once I've had that clarification. Just checking on Manjeet. It was nice to chat with you. I subscribed. Oh, thank you very much. Also, I have worked on an app with Dart using Flutter. What made you all choose React Native? Okay, so that's a question for everyone as well. In my case, I started off as a vanilla native developer, and I got frustrated with just writing Swift and UI kit, because if you just want to change the padding of something, you have to recompile the whole app, and that felt tedious, ridiculous, quite frankly. And I didn't like the UI model of auto layout. And I had, I was working professionally as a full-time web dev, and so I wanted to use web techniques. And here was React Native, and also at the same time here was NativeScript. And I was like, hey, I know TypeScript, I know web tech, let's give this React Native thing, and at the same time, more or less, NativeScript a try. And I was just, you can build cross-platform apps way quicker using web-inspired cross-platform frameworks than you can using vanilla, fully native frameworks. There is for sure a learning curve, and I'll be very honest, easy things become hard, hard things become easy. After a good number of years of hitting all the hard things and learning how to navigate the hard things, you become a lot more productive with React Native and NativeScript. For me, I had those years of full-time web dev experience that I wanted to unlock, and so that made the curve of the curve or crossover point of when you become useful in a cross-platform framework versus a single platform framework become hit like way sooner. Flutter gives you that freedom. So I'll be honest. I've only looked at Flutter at a surface level. I've probably like run a hello world on it, but at the end of the day, I don't want to use Dart. I have so much experience in writing TypeScript and using the web platform. Things like the DOM spec is brilliant. Web APIs are brilliant. CSS is brilliant, as you can see how quickly we put together the thing we were building. All of this stuff, like, that's web. How great is that? Building that in Flutter, I'd have to really skill up. And even beyond like UI creation in Flutter, there is the aspect of accessing native APIs. Flutter does have this library called FFI or FFI Gen. It's on GitHub somewhere. Flutter FFI Gen. There we are. Which is simply magical. This is probably like a bit too deep here. Maybe something like this. FFI Gen lets you write Dart and call into native code. Oh, interestingly, Windows as well. That's quite fun. So I'd be interested in. I like the idea of writing non-native code to call native code. Oh, actually, Dart's kind of native, isn't it? I'd need to double check what the anatomy of Dart is. Is it technically native? I think it is. But yeah, I'm a TypeScript developer, man. I'm a web developer, so I love my web tools. Let's see. Daniel's saying, I didn't like Flutter. I don't like Material, and customizing widgets was so hard. Coming up with a design system was so tough. State management, even using Riverpod was so much work. Yeah, I figure. Yeah, see you, Manjeet. Yeah, I agree. I think the thing about Flutter is there's a big ratio of hype to substance, and you'll get that with any big tech framework. And Google made APIs in particular. It might, the very easiest things might be easy to get done, but some, serious things may still be hard. Dang it. It's how it is. No! Okay, so we have a Xcode proj navigation bar. So we're trying to do this next bar over here. So we need a side icon thingy, and it's going to follow roughly these same colors. So we've got that navigation bar. We'll go up to one of our other bars. It was the tab bar. And we'll take a look for that grid view, because we just want the colors from it. We're going to start off as a div, I don't know. So we're going to have that, and the SVG we're going to use here is going to look a lot like that one. In fact, it's this one, isn't it? So we need to go into the title bar. Dock to left is what we call it. Do-do. And we need to render that nav bar. I'm not seeing it. Where is it? Where? Daniel saying, ironically, I loved GetX Flutter framework, but I found out people in the community hated it for some reason. Yeah, you got to listen out for those signals before really marrying into a framework. You've got to see what the sentiment is and the ecosystem size, otherwise you're going to have a bad time. So we've got a perfectly good div here. Project selection bar. Flex, grow. I mean, that should be visible. Oh, does it just need to grow into the thing that's flex growing? Whoops. First name, flex, grow. Don't tell me that the WebSocket's just broken. Here, we shall call this a learning experience. Why is there nothing down there? We've got a title bar. Group. Okay, so where's your right? I swear, this thing is no longer getting hot updates. Is this doing a backup? No. I'm gonna restart that Webpack server. This seems fishy. Yes! Okay, let that be a lesson to all of you, whether it's web dev or anything else. Trust nothing ever. So our Webpack was no longer delivering hot updates, and that's the only reason why it wasn't showing up. So, we had... I'm just wondering whether I copy the same old thing, like, you know, height 7 and all of that from the previous bar. I think maybe I will. Just be a bit mindless. Don't overthink it. I can come back clean. Well, ideally get it right first time. Put a bit of thought into it. But I'm streaming, so we want to be fast. So why is it so tall? It's got height 7 on it. Oh, because I copied this title bar. I actually don't want that. I want the other bar. Tab bar. Grab all of these. Go into here. Why? Why is it tall? Grow. Oh! That's why. Yeah, so. Observe. No. Can't do any of this. So the idea was that we'd have like some, you know, unfinished stuff. That's the unfinished bit. So we can have that as BG app kits. Maybe it's got no background altogether. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, so what I've done is I've made sure, like using this as an example, the display document. Here we have an AppKit app, and a window that's got nothing in it has got like some default coloring. So the title bar is a bit brighter, and the content view has got a default color. So I've actually reflected that default color right here. The color does not match because guess what? Because depending on the position on the screen, this background color changes, and it's absolutely maddening for picking a correct and consistent color. And because there's no way with Xcode Accessibility Inspector, you can like inspect certain things about the structure of AppKit app, but you cannot work out like the color. You cannot just look at the color, unfortunately, because it's not accessible. It's not a thing that's relevant to accessibility. Okay, so we have. I've got the wrong side drawer. It's facing the wrong way. So we want doc to. Right, that's more like it. Okay, and then we're going to have some of these beans. Maybe I'll just make a function bean. So at my previous place I worked, we had a in-house style of putting the most important thing, or sort of, because functions can be hoisted, you can decide whether you want to do your function, like if function A calls function B, you can decide whether function B should be above it or below it in the code structure. And the way most people do it is as if functions couldn't be hoisted. But something that makes your code base kind of nice to operate in is actually doing the opposite, which is have the big interesting like headline item at the very top of the file, and all the things it depends on below it, and all the thing that this depends on below that. And so that way you have like the headline feature of every component right at the top rather than right at the bottom, which is what we're going to do here. So we're going to have a bean, which will take the, for a start, should it be a div, or should it, maybe it's a span, maybe it's just a span, I don't know. There's no particular reason it needs to be a div, but a span will make it inline block. The thing is, this is always, we're going to use this in a flex context anyway. So let's say this is just a div, and it takes children. So we're going to have props with children. And what other props? Maybe just start with that. B. And the child shall be, for example, general. And these are going to go in their own group. So we're going to have general and signing capabilities. And then, of course, this class name, this needs to be flex, and it defaults to flex direction row. And then the text size is clearly too big, so I'm just going to try a few until, by my eyeballs, it looks right. Maybe that's the one we want. Signing capabilities, and after signing capabilities we want resource tags. We'll put a bit of gap x in there, start off with 1, and then actually measure it. Let's go measure this. That looks like a 2 to me. 8 pixels, yeah, that's a 2. Okay. So now each of those needs to have what does div normally have? I mean, we could do it like this. Can we just do that? Oh yes. We'll do that, and we'll do a standard Tailwind merge of class name. Okay, so now you can pass your own classes in, and they'll take precedent. In fact, you can pass any props for a div element into this, and you can also pass any class names of your own into this, and Tailwind merge will make sure that they get merged in the order you'd kind of expect, completely throwing all actual CSS rules out the window. It just kind of works like magic. Da-ba-dum. So our reference is here, and it does similar hover as what we did on the previous bar. So that's what we're calling the project selection bar. We've got, let's just grab this on the right. So that is going to be, each bean is going to be a group which when hovered has a certain background, and in fact, you know what? It's going to have a certain text color, a certain background color when hovered, and those things will change during dark mode as well. So you see it's now just gone a bit more grey now. We're going to have to work out what color. So clearly it wants to be black text. I think the yes, this is the real one. Hang on. So this is all good. We just need to match the text used somewhere else. Where was it? We had the word compendium. We've got that text color. So why is 3.7 looking so unlike that text right there? Let us look into it. So what I'm specifically looking into right now is when I just copied the text and background styles from this compendium thing right here, why do the words like general, assigning capabilities, why do they look like a different text color altogether? I'm just confirming whether it's just a thing of the font size rather than something else. So this compendium span right here has a, let's look at computed color rather than, it's got a computed color of RGB 55, 55, 54, and then we compare it to general, which has computed color of the same. Okay, so it's just a, the color must be coming down to the thinness of the text more than anything. So why, let's check on the font size. 12 pixels for the beans, and then over here 12 pixels as well. So what about the font weight? 500 for the compendium, and it's 400. Okay, that is the reason the colors are different. Got it. So there is a question as to whether I increase the font weight of these as well, and maybe I do. Oh hey, welcome MS. Your message has been retracted. Maybe you'll re-typing that. Maybe this becomes. Hey, welcome along. What have you been working on recently? Let's have 500 for medium. There we go. That looks more like it. So we've got these added now, and clearly we need some padding and rounding, and we had that before, but we can just do a padding. I remember it's got more padding on the X and less on the Y, so we'll grab that. Padding X and Y. And then we'll take around it, shove that in there. Oh yes. We'll make sure these are, that's tricky. These need to line up to a grid. So I'm actually going to need to put a bit more thought into this, but for now we can do a class name grow on both sides. So it kind of looks, it happens to end up in the center, but I think the aim of Xcode, let's see. I really can't tell if it feels like they're centering themselves into this grid here, but I can't prove it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into the Xcode accessibility inspector. We're going to actually measure this thing. Okay. So as you can see, there's no like, this column here does not exist up here, so it might just be centered, which would make life a lot easier for me. Position is 413. It doesn't tell us like the constraints. Okay, well, all right. Oh right, yeah. I'm listening to it while writing code. I'm listening while listening, so it would be helpful if there are explanations in Japanese sometimes. Okay. Yeah, I'll give some explanations in Japanese as well. Not really warmed up yet, but let's think. 今の目標はもちろんもう説明したの通りに下の方のXcode の UI のスクリーンショットを真似す完全に真似すること。そうしたら個人的なドキュメンテーションサイトでXcode のチュートリアルなんか Xcode のエミュレーターを使うようにすごくいいチュートリアルが使われる、ようになります。で、今までは上のタイトルバーと、下の3つのバーが実装できていますが、もちろん、まだまだです。道が長いです。これからは多分このバーで、下のビルドフェーズを、作っています。Yeah. So I'm not sure, I'm not really sure what else to bring up to speed on. But yeah, I'll move on to the next part of implementation, and I guess I'll go between Japanese and English when I have new things to say. So general sign-in capabilities, resource tags, info, build settings, build phases. Yeah. Build. そのやることって、今の仕事っていうんですか？私は今日は、休みの日ですから、そんなに忙しくないです。Let's see. I wonder if these deserve a bit more spacing in between them. I think in practice, so that's looking like 19. whereas that is 24. So they do need a bit more space. So the gap should be like 2.5. And that brings it up to 20. What was it? 24 we're aiming for? So gap 3. Glorious. That looks pretty convincing, doesn't it? So now these beans need an active state. So based on which bean is selected, they need to go blue. So I think what we're going to do is have a active state. And the active will be a boolean. And when active, we'll fill in an aria active. Hang on. So we've spread out. Oh, that's so annoying doing this. If it's active, we spread out this object, and if it's not, we spread out an empty object. Now inside this, we're going to have a data active is empty string. Okay. And active is going to default to undefined. 今やってるのは、このタブが、選択肢すると、青くなるように、アクティブステートを実装することです。I think we need a bit more padding, so padding on the X, a bit more like 0.5. Oh, it's actually a bit more. So bring that up and bring the gap down. Yes, surely. But then it looks like they're spreading out too far. So bring the gap down even more. No gap? Can't be right. Oh, sorry, am I editing the wrong thing? Ah, I'm a fool. This needs to be 2. There we go. That should be it. Refactor today. Yep, that's very true. AMS さんは今仕事でリファクトリングしてるわけですか？どんなリファクトリングをしていますか？ So we got these. We'll have an active state, and we'll say that the build phases is active, and we don't have to do active as true because I think in React you can just do that. And then when we've got what is it? In data active state, it's gonna be a background of a certain color, which could be red for now. And we're gonna pick that color. This could be, let's take it from real Xcode. D6 E6 FD. D6 E6 FD. Okay. So have I put this in the right place? Oh yeah, it's just it needs that. Why is this not showing it? We've told you to be active. We've passed active through. We've set data active on it. If I render this, yep, active. One of the console logs should come up with active true. Or the bundler's died. Maybe the bundler is dead. We are currently in the process of replacing the product with Next.js. Wow. 今までは何を使ってますか? So what have you been using up until now? I think Webpack is dead because it's not bringing these updates through. Wake up, come on. Oh, don't tell me. Ah, yeah, so I've got a backup that runs and it backs up to an official Apple time machine, and when that happens, all localhost networking dies, and you, for some reason, also you can't write files to disk, so you can't download files from Safari to disk. It's ridiculous. The biggest virus in my life is an official Apple backup product. So whoa! So until this time machine backup like finishes preparing, this Webpack server is going to be doing nothing. So yeah, if anyone has things to chat about, I am all ears until my computer becomes responsive again. I'll just check on the various chats, because 10 notifications is encouraging. Obviously, I use Slack for both work and play. I've got multiple workspaces, so the notifications could be things on fire at work rather than social stuff. Let's see. Dun dun dun. Okay. Catching up on that. Come on, time machine. Well, okay. We can still continue to develop blind. So during active state, we're gonna set to a particular background color, and do we need to set to a particular text color as well? I think we do. So that text color is approximately, what's the best pixel to pick? For example, that. No! What? Oh! I use the hotkey to grab the pixel color, but it doesn't work. Hang on. So, for example, we could use any of these pixel colors, or we could use the D, which looks a bit deeper. 3979 F9. How about that? Build phases. Text. Data. Active. 3979. What was the other one? I think I forgot the last bit. 3979 F9. Alrighty, is time machine done? No. No. Dev server still dead. And so we'll have the text color ready, we'll have the background color ready. We've got a flex item growing to fill this space, and a flex item growing to fill this space. This doesn't need a hover style. In theory, we could implement that. So we should probably... Oh, there you go. There's your reusable component. Let's not bother implementing that for now. The next bit down on this interface is going to be the build setting, this whole area here. Come on, time machine. Oh, I think time machine just finished, because that just did a thing. Yes, okay, we are back in action. Look at that, did all that blind. Lovely. Should make that text not be selectable, so we'll do a select none. Oh yes. WebTech real good. I think we need a bit more rounding. We do. So rounded is currently 4 pixels. Rounded medium would be 6 pixels. How about large? Ooh, that's too much. So medium. That's it. Oh yeah. Okay, I think I'll use that example for the other place we're using rounding. Rounded. Not this one. Hang on. Title bar, tab bar. It's the other bar we're working on earlier. What was that called? Project selection bar. We had a rounded. I know we did. There we go. That's rounded empty now. Oh yes. Oh, I see. So MS is currently working on replacing their Nuxt.js app to Next.js. Was Nuxt.js the Vue-based competitor to Next.js? Okay. So why are you migrating your app from Nuxt to Next? なぜアプリを、Next.js から Next.js にマイグレーションすることになりましたか? Okay, I think that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Okay, we should think about the line breaking. So this needs to be no wrap. Each bean needs to say wrap in no wrap. Oh yes, no wrapping for you. That's so good. Oh my days, that's so gorgeous. Okay. Let's commit that. Okay. Where was this? We go to window. To do. This is all. It's yet. That in, and then commit. Implement Xcode. Project navigation bar. Bang. Push. Daniel's around. Nuxt is way better from what I've heard, especially with DX. Yeah, I mean, genuinely, I would trust the people behind it. If it's got significant there's a question. How much was Evan Yo involved in this? Was he like hugely involved? Maybe in the earlier days, because I feel like a lot of the server-side rendering he would have hugely had impact on and actually built stuff for. So let's go look at the license and see some early commits. View code at this point. So in the early days of repository, I'm not actually seeing Evan Yo commits. It's Daniel Rowe. Okay. So is Nuxt.js not an official Vue product? Is it a Vue community made thing? It's got Anthony on it. Next. I don't know anything about the Vue community. That's the thing. Let's see. Daniel saying, I think it's mostly Daniel Rowe and team who are really cracked too. Antfu is really talented as well. I trust him. Yep, absolutely agree. Lots of good stuff out of Anthony. Yeah, so I could definitely believe that the DX is super good because, you know, are they... what's their profit model? Are they just trying to make the best dang framework they can, or, you know, for the love of it, or are they trying to sell services? Because that always, like, oh yes, changes the way things are done. Okay, there is something slightly is bothering me. I feel we want to keep this padding even when it's overflowing. So I'm going to put all of this yes, because each of these components are responsible for their own padding. It's going to have to be this. Oh, I don't like this part. Class name, overflow, hidden. Take all of that stuff, put that there. And this is going to be flex again, and it's going to be grow again, and item center. So in fact, you know, actually pretty much all of this comes into here. And then we'll just take out this flex grow. And what that means is now, what have I done wrong? We've got the padding. Is it the overflow hidden? We need this one? Oh no, the padding needs to live out here. Is this it? Damn it. Padding is out here. The thing... How did I set this up before? We had another title bar. The overflow hidden should go on the inner item. Okay. The padding should go on the outer item, yes. Flex grow 1. What's the difference between grow and grow 1? Nothing, right? So we could just say grow 1. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it such that when you compress the window, any overflowing items still bring. So we have like 2 pixels, 8 pixels of padding covering the overflowing items. That was kind of my hope, but I'm trying to remember how I set this up. We set the padding out here. I really don't want to do overflow hidden on both of them. I want to understand this properly in my head, but I mean, that works. Okay. And that means we need to have the border up here. Oops. And then bring the border color as well. And we might as well do this in the background as well. That's more like, because that just feels better, right? Like, not seeing the overflowing stuff like go right to the edge just feels more correct, more like the developer's in control. And do I bring this comment along to explain whole deal. So it feels a bit strange that in CSS you have to resort to like two container nesting, and anytime I do, I die a little inside, because more containers is more pollution on the page. It's potentially more performance loss. It's more event handlers. It's potentially more like native nodes that the web engine is having to keep track of. So you really want to avoid it wherever possible. But if you want overflow to clip at the content box, to my understanding, the only way to do that, at least when using border box, but probably also during content box, the only way to get overflow to clip at the content box on current browsers is with a two container system. There is a way in future, however. In future, we'll be able to say overflow clip and express overflow clip margin and say clip to the content box rather than the end of the padding box. And if you want, you could even clip to the border box if that was relevant to your use case. So, looking forward to that one day. But until then, oh yes. And this runs so nicely. Hopefully runs nice on Safari as well. But Safari chokes quite easily. But that's sort of the reason I have gone for pure CSS. Like, so far we are not using JavaScript listeners for any part of this. Is it goes vroom vroom very fast. Okay, nest. What did I name this commit earlier? Prevent overflow into padding box. Or do we just merge that into previous commit? Xcode project navigation part. Yes, we do. Sweet. Yeah. Okie dokie. So, what is the next aim? Man, we completed the bar. That's so cool. Glorious. Oh, dang it. We need to do the same thing. Technically, we want that padding to be clipped off here. We want the overflow to be clipped off here as well for complete. Oh, dang it. We need to do it on all of them. I don't want to bore you all with that, so we can come to that another time. Let's focus on this next big bit, which is everything down here. Woo! First off, does Xcode let you reset? Yes, it does. Okay, we'll need to take that into account. There's going to be a thing on the left and a thing on the right. So, how do we do this? Where are we? Go back up to window. Close that. Close all of these. Get some space back. We're going to start the next part of our UI. This is exciting. So we need to fill. I mean, we could go to the footer first. We've got navigation bar. We've got the main body. Xcode main body. What do we call this area? Build. Alright, let's call it build phases body. Oh no, what can you call this thing? What do Xcode call it? Bring this thing up again. What are they calling that? That is a DVT split view. Project and a target list. That's one thing. IDE editor. Hang on. Okay. I'm not sure. Okay, cool, sweet. This might be a good way to figure out the names of things. So this is the project and target list, whereas this is the projects and target source list filter fields? No, that's something else. Is this just an anonymous view? This is... Dang it. Right, what's that thing called? So it's a split view. Okay. Xcode. We could call it Xcode settings split view. Why not? As it doesn't have a proper name. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Okay. Settings split view.tsx export function settings split view. That's going to return null for now. Settings split view. Okay. Now it's empty, and that's going to be. We're going to want a div that is flex. What direction do we want this thing? We want it to be, yep, a row. We want it to grow to fill the whole height. So I think we're good with flex grow, and we want the background color to be what exactly? Well, it's already, we've kind of given ourselves a background color already. There's always this philosophical thing of who should own the background color, who should own the contents. Right, so we've got this, and it's going to be composed of two more functions. So we need settings detail. What do they call these things? I think so. In the split view, I think it's called a master detail. Let me just double check what AppKit calls it. So go into my repositories and find HTML. It's AppKit HTML. We'll go into packages, AppKit HTML, source generated elements. Oh no, could just go into .c. Right. Split view. So an NS split view element has split view items. It's got a sidebar, content list, expect. Sidebar. Okay, so they're calling it a sidebar. What did Xcode? Just double check what Xcode called it. Oh no, they called it a list, didn't they? Right, fine. Forget their naming. Settings detail view.tsx, and then settings sidebar view. Okay. We're going to export function settings sidebar view, which returns null for now, and then we'll grab that and we'll go into the detail view, settings detail view. So the detail is going to be the main body. go back to here. Forget the accessibility inspector. So, inside this, we are going to have those two things we just made. We're going to have the settings sidebar view, and we're going to have a settings detail. Okay. So, the sidebar view. Now the thing is, they are resizable. First off, let's give them, let's have the sidebar on the left, detail on the right. And that can just be a div with class name. Background can be, these are quite nice. Amber 200, why not? And this is, well, probably going to end up being a flex item anyway, but it's going to be a flex column, and it no, it doesn't grow. Flex normal. Okay. And then, so nothing visible yet. This should grow to fill the available space, and instead of amber, it can be a, why not, cyan 300. Okay, so if we go back to the split view, I guess we can shove that down there. Settings split view is here. Need to figure this out. So we're telling the split view to grow so it should be taking, and this is growing as well. Okay, so maybe this needs to grow. Okay, sweet. And this can be, this is going to be to do footer. The footer is going to be like what? Height 7-ish. PG black, no, yeah, something like that. And then we can say our split view is going to have like a minimum height, just so we can actually function a bit. Minimum height of how big does that need to be? That's 433, so we could say 400 is a good start. Huh. Huh. Maybe this doesn't grow. So why is the height of this thing limited? Why is that not showing up? Mysteries, mysteries. If I give it an actual height, it doesn't do anything. Sidebar view. Flex. No. What is going on? Oh, thanks, Daniel. Got to join stand up. Yep, have a good one. So what is going on in here? Let us inspect. So that's hoping to take up that much space. Is there a height limit on our thing here? Yeah, that's the only thing. We had a... no. Was there no height on it before we started? Okay. Right, there is no actual height imposed on it. So why are we seeing nothing? delete that. What is the deal? With 100%. That's very strange. So what determines your height? Height, auto, height, fit content, no. Min height, content. That is strange. All that said, I think I'm going to take a break. I think we've been streaming for a couple of hours, maybe now. So I shall, yeah, thanks everyone for coming along. Thanks for a chat, and hopefully I can figure out this thing for next stream. But very happy with the progress we've made. Thanks for coming along and keep me company. See you next time.